This is Pete Moore on Halo Talks NYC. I have the pleasure of bringing the CEO of JK Products, Brynn Scarborough, out of St. Pete to her first Halo Talks. Brynn, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here. I heard a lot about the podcast and privileged to be on it.
Thank you. And we have a Ranger fan and a Lightning fan, and we are going to bury our rivalry for the sake of the industry. So, Brynn, let's talk about the products that you guys are delivering and the growth of the workout recovery and med spa space, and focus in on we've got labor shortages, we've got labor price increases, and how your products are kind of positioned to attack the opportunity as well as reduce the cost of entry.
Absolutely. Yeah, just to give you a 30-second recap of our history, if you don't know us in the fitness space, we have a manufacturing platform and service platform in the tanning and sunshine space. So we've been manufacturing equipment, capital investment equipment, for more than 40 years. And so 5-6 years ago, we really started taking a look at how we could build stackable amenities into recovery and wellness spaces. And honestly, it was before the conversation was really ready. This was pre-COVID. People weren't really talking as much about touchless or labor-free modalities at that point. Today, it's a very different conversation. And so we're bringing modalities to the forefront like dry water massage, red light, infrared, and others that really work to help operators and owners not only increase foot traffic, which we know is a problem right now, but also do that without directly impacting or raising labor costs, which we know is another huge problem for operators at the moment. So we feel like we're really well positioned at the moment to let people kind of take the initial investment to not only upgrade their services, but be able to diversify their service offerings, when the next treadmill or the next piece of cardio isn't going to make that happen. No offense to my cardio manufacturer friends out there, but we know what moves the needle at the end of the day.
Sure. As you take a look at when you started, entering the space to where we are today, and we invested in a company, as I mentioned before, Higher Dose, we were in like this education and like evangelist movement, and people would be like, oh, what's red light? Or,
Yes.
What is PEMF standpoint? So, from your vantage point, where are we in the education curve? And, how are the conversations now going for you and your team?
I would say we're somewhere in the messy middle.
Okay.
We are light years ahead of where the conversation started. We were one of the first companies to come out with total body red light almost 15 years ago. It was fringe. It was biohacking wasn't even a word. There wasn't a category to put it in. No one even knew what to say about it. Today, it's a very different story. Now, the consumer appetite for experimentation, especially in the US, is high. Particularly with technology integrations for wellness and fitness, where we're missing, there's definitely snake oil out there. Along with that conversation comes entrants to the market that are not necessarily high level or well researched, as I'm sure you're aware. So the conversation has definitely moved forward, where we really try to position ourselves as not only the forefront of quality, but also technology combined. We build equipment that you're going to invest in over decades, not over, single years or months. And we really have a reputation for people being able to build their businesses around our brands. And so that's a place that we really work hard to not only stay in, but then be at the forefront of education. We're not trying to convince you that biohacking is cool, right? That's not really our job. Our job is to give business owners equipment that really shows an ROI and a value proposition that can be as complex as you want it to be for that consumer, or as straightforward and, almost explanation free on a lot of things, to kind of help them be able to move memberships as well.
Got it. So when you take a look at the number of health clubs and studios, and I'll take studio second because I've got some comments on it and a viewpoint that I want to get your view on. But what I've been telling health clubs for the last 5 years is to say, look, there are these new concepts coming up that are in the workout recovery space. Okay. If you're an authority on workouts, you better become an authority on workout recovery. Right.
Yeah.
And then you see these med spas or you see these workout recovery groups, and great that they're providing it, but they're opening up in your shopping center. Okay. Mm-hmm. And they're basically poaching your 600 people that are trafficking your club in your parking lot. And they're charging 5 to 10 times the amount of what your membership cost. So if you're not going to either build that yourself and get a new location that's adjacent to, or allocate space inside of your health club, you're basically giving away the most premium component of their disposable dollars. So how is that kind of weaved into your sales pitch, or like saying like this isn't something that you watch and go by because you're going to lose them, and then they're going to think you're not the authority, and you're kind of backfilling, and
That's
that's not
right.
a place you want to be.
There's so many layers to this conversation, and I love this conversation because at the end of the day, the brick and mortar industry that's building up around wellness and recovery really wasn't there pre-COVID. It's brand new. And there are times when the traditional fitness industry is just kind of sitting back and watching that happen, when I agree with you, they should be out in front of it. And they have the space. They've already got the square footage. It's already there. I think in the traditional fitness space, recovery used to mean, a massage gun and a foam roller. And that's not what what consumers expect. And I really think it comes down to the base level root issue of upregulation and downregulation, oscillating input and output. And in the fitness space, we've been great at like no pain, no gain, go hard or go home for a long time. And a lot of our HVLP actors are perfect in that space, but they don't know how to offer the opposite, or the downregulation, the relaxation, what we are now calling recovery, that means something very different to their same member. And so they're having to educate themselves. But you're absolutely right. They're watching someone walk out of their doors. And if you're, a participant in the time wallet, and there's only so much time in the wallet, and you have to choose between where you go during the day, you're making a choice between stops or locations, where fitness, especially HVLP and others, are really well positioned to take up a lot more space in like the high-end recovery amenity modality space. And they're a little behind in the conversation. I'll just tell you, some have been doing it for years. Others are still wondering how to put the mix together when they really just need to be trying and, taking advice from their members, things like that.
One thing, and I've been in the health club industry for better or for worse since August 1st of 1999. And sometimes I would go to certain groups and I'd say, look, you need to put this in. I kind of refer to like a trade show as like a weapons dealership. Like what weapons do you need to actually optimize or keep your members? And that's what they want.
Right.
The one thing that I saw that worked really well, and I want to know if you guys do this or if you're thinking about doing this, but a health club operator, they might not get educated on each one of the actual modalities, like what's an infrared sauna, what's a compression technology, lymphatic drainage, cold plunge. And what I found that worked was basically saying, like, here's a picture of like, here's what you need at 500 square feet. Here's what you need at 1,000. Here's what you need at 3,000. And just like buy this as like a bundle, and then organize it like that, like I'm at an IKEA store, So how have you kind of fed this and say, look, I'm not going to educate you on every piece of technology. You're missing the point of what we're delivering to you. I'm going to actually give you like a room.
Yes.
Is it evolved to that, or is it going there?
Yeah, we've gone, I'd say we're about 60% of the way there, but you are pegging on, it's not a complex concept. I say, A, fill up the truck. If the truck's coming, fill up the truck. And B, create a space that makes sense and is stackable in a sensical way. The spa world has been doing this for a while, like this idea of a circuit that it is now autonomous. It didn't used to be autonomous. Now the circuit is autonomous because technology can support it. But you're absolutely right. To be able to move from red light to dry water massage, even to tanning, if that's a component of what you do in your business model, and all of those three things work together, you don't have to make choices between what you use on each day, on what day. You really can't do it wrong. You can optimize it, there's no doubt. But as a user, you really can't do it wrong. So you don't have to have the hour webinar of education before you use each piece of equipment. It really is, almost explanation free from that perspective. And you get a great outcome. It's also one of those things, this phenomenon of flat January that we had this year. Instead of dry January, which some of us suffer through, we had flat January. Obviously, what is in the gym space isn't enough to get people in their cars and drive across town. And so we really focus on bringing you amenities that people will drive to, that they will say, okay, I wasn't going to go in today, but if I can go in and have really good red light and a great massage, that's worth it, even if I'm not going to work out. Because something's got to be added to the value of the workout right now to get people through the doors.
So two follow-on comments, and we could just keep going back and forth here for hours, but we got to cut the show at some point. But the one thing that drives me crazy, and being being a Swiftie, in addition, my other cult that I belong to, I'll admit it here. I'm comfortable
Yes.
with it right now.
No judgment here.
Thank you. Um, the other cult that I'm a part of is Soul Cycle. Okay. And the one thing that drives me crazy about Soul Cycle, and I'm sorry to Melody and the team at Soul Cycle for saying this on the podcast, and I'll try and get in touch with them beforehand, is that, Brynn, they have 500 square feet that they have in their studio that is devoted to towels, and they're cleaning towels, okay, which generates zero revenue. If you took those industrial towel machines out and put in lounge chairs and Normatec, you would have at least 30% of the people that went to a class to go straight to the Normatec and do compression right afterwards for an extra $20. I know I would do it, and I'm not the minority. So have those conversations happened? Do you like look at certain studios and say like what are you using your square footage for, like selling, t-shirts? Like I can I'll put anything where you're not making money. I'll find something to put in there. That's on my list of products.
I agree. And, we have a few similarities in that we're both Swifties. I used to be a spin instructor because I love the fact that, you get that energy in the room, everybody moving at one time. It's great. It's a great way to tune in and check out. And I think the conversation around boutique fitness has been for a while. Like there's we don't do amenities. We don't do, this, we have our merch, and I love great merch. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But for the spaces that aren't making you money, I completely agree with you that, whether it's a massage, whether it's red light, whether it's recovery, there's multiple things you could do that don't add staff and don't take up extra square footage that you don't already have, that get that extra click out of every person that comes through, or even a few percentage that moves the needle. And boutique fitness has kind of sat out on this conversation for a long time. And I don't think that's going to be an option in the future.
Yeah. One of the things that drives me crazy, we do these Halo Academies. So we go through here's what it takes to run your unit economics for it to be successful. And please don't sell a franchise unless the unit economics actually work for you as a franchisor. But one of the things that we look at is, if you're a spin studio and you're open, you have 6 classes, right, at 45 minutes, right? The hair salon's open 14 hours. The Dunkin' Donuts open 24 hours. The GNC store, they still probably make a little bit of money. They're open up from 7 to, 10 p.m. And you're basically paying the same exact rent, and you basically have 5 hours of revenue. So if you put on the workout recovery, you don't have the risk of somebody being injured, and you're not, and you're liable for that. But you can actually have it open to say, whatever you're doing, come in, reserve an infrared sauna, come in here whenever you want, and have one person working in there, just making sure that everything's monitored. And I don't know why people don't get that, and that you and I have to have a podcast about it to get it out there.
I'm with you, and I love boutique fitness, but I'm not loyal to any of them. And I think loyalty in boutique fitness is a huge issue right now. Where certain apps and platforms have made it so easy to move around. They don't have that stickiness that they really need to keep you coming back to the same location. And that's part of it, right? It's part of it is, what else can I do? How can I be more efficient with my time? And the amenities are a big piece of it, to be honest with you. If you've got the same person at the front desk, whether they're scheduling classes or putting people in a paid service, the same person's working the front desk. It's really not, adding an amenity like, Well System or Revive is a force multiplier, because it does not add to your overhead, but it adds to your revenue.
One thing I think that's missing in workout recovery, and I want to get your take on this, or maybe, your team's already doing it or thinking about it. I play this game with my niece, Candyland, Candyland. And it just basically, you're moving through the colors. Nobody's given someone a prescription yet to say hey, I do Soul Cycle 3 days a week. I do, that's pretty much what I do. Sorry. I do Soul Cycle 3 days a week. I go ride, take a walk, and I run outside. I do some TRX. Let me tell you what I do. Now overlay a Candyland. Okay, you should do compression 3 days a week. Yeah. You should do an infrared sauna. And don't do the infrared sauna before the cold plunge, because it eradicates the effect. Or do it in reverse order. Or don't do them on the same day. I feel like there's this black hole of, there's all these great technologies, but what order do I do them in? Should I do it before? Should I do it after? I feel like that's the final frontier that nails it, and nobody's doing it yet. and
Yeah,
I'm busy.
integrated recovery protocols based on your preferences would be amazing. I would follow them too because I'm an experimenter at the end of the day, right? I've tried everything, and I can give you my advice. But I'm with you. No one's really telling you like, okay, if you're doing HIIT 4 days a week, you really need to be focused on cold plunge and infrared. Or if you are, looking for muscle gains, you need to be focused on X, Y, and Z. No, no one has taken it to that level yet. And honestly, the technology is getting there. I mean, we have enough good modalities at this point. Now, accessibility, right, is going to be highly varied, but we've got enough like good modalities to be able to really put together protocols that make sense.
So from a standpoint, we got about 5 minutes left here. When you walk into a new client, obviously some of them come and say like, I know I need to do this, like,
Yeah.
tell me what to do. What are the things that, if I said, look, I want to take baby steps and I don't want to like overhaul what I'm doing. So what is your advice and your team's advice to say, look, let me get you into my ecosystem and here's like the products we're going to start with, and then we're going to walk our way up. So maybe like explain how you think about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we focus on a few things just because our equipment is not, it needs a space to be, right? And so the first conversation is, are you remodeling or what is your existing footprint? And how much ability do you have? Or are you willing to remodel? A lot of people don't want to remodel. And at the end of the day, you're repurposing a good bit of your space, or at least some of your space from, open treadmill spaces to something different. So the first thing is opening up your mind to remodeling. And I think honestly, consumers are looking for that. But if you can't even remodel and you're just ready to put in the first item, it's definitely the well system wave because it can sit in an open space. It doesn't need a dedicated room. It's dry water massage, but it has a relaxation hood on it that allows you to really drop in even in a public space, which is nice. So if you don't have a relaxation space, if all you have is open floor plan, that's a place you can start. Though, if we can really get involved in the conversation, then we're going to say, okay, like, what's your first stack of amenities, which is, the well system and red light, or even could be sunshine, red light, and well system. Depends on what your business model is. And we're going to look for that really simple stack where you could use one or two services together without staff intervention.
Gotcha. And from a standpoint of providing people with the marketing for this, and basically saying like, okay, look, you put an infrared sauna. And by the way, just as an aside, when we were working with Higher Dose pre-COVID, we used to have infrared saunas that we had with pop-ups in some locations. And I was doing the math, and I thought I was doing the math wrong, but we actually paid back for the infrared sauna in literally like 23 days.
Yeah.
And I was like shocked because the amount per hour plus there's no overhead, and somebody's got to wipe it down. So from a standpoint of, returning the investment, do you guys come also with like, here's some financing packages that we've got with partners that'll finance this for you, just like they would fitness equipment? And then my question that I lost train of thought of, now it's back. So I'm going to say it because I just remember what I wanted to say to you was, do you provide them with marketing materials to say, look, this is how you position it, or here's like, put this out as like a new amenity?
Yeah, we absolutely do. So lots of brands obviously want their own marketing. They want their own messaging out there. So we focus on providing as much education as we can, and then allowing, people to put their own spin or their own messaging on it. I'm with you on the ROI though, because when you start looking at ROI on some of these amenities, it doesn't seem believable at first. And honestly, I think that's part of the conversation, is helping people understand why a 3-month ROI is really attainable when you're talking about either, I always say, casting a wider net or fishing deeper in the same pond. And you really only have to move, a few percentage points to have a strong effect on revenue from that perspective. And so, yeah, the well system's a great example. There's no procession cost. There's no operational overhead. It doesn't cost you anything to run it other than to clean it every now and then. So everybody who pays you $20, that's $18.92 in your pocket,
Exactly.
Just off the it's the ROI is really good. But from an education perspective, we really focus on education and support, and also then make sure that brands have what they need as well, whether that's a mom and pop or that's a national brand that we support as well.
Awesome. Well, look, it's great having you on the show. Get back to us on some Swifty pictures from Portugal.
Absolutely.
We're down in Tampa frequently, so I'll reach out to you and we'll grab some lunch at a spin class. And, if you want to use the term halo, we'd be appreciative of that. And, feel free to use it, to describe the ecosystem. But this is great. And I love what you guys are doing. And it's only positive things ahead for everyone.
Awesome. Yeah, maybe we can catch a Taylor Swift spin class if we're lucky. Even better.
I might prioritize that already. All right, I got to go teach it. I'm going to teach a class at 4 to the Crunch guys. But hey, it was great meeting you. Great talking to you. And let's collaborate because we got a lot of clients hired to us. If they've got their own set of products, but I want everyone to have all this in there because I'm so sick of somebody saying like, "Oh, the Restore's got 400 members." And they write down, I'm like, dude, those are your members, man. How'd you miss that? It's 80 grand a month.
I totally agree with you. Yeah, I think there's tons of synergies and happy to open up the conversation. However, we can be a resource.
Well, thank Trent and Co. for setting this up and good to meet you. Appreciate what you're doing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Take care.